Hello mathematicians, here's the video for Home Connections 109 and 110. Number 1, label each item in the box below. That first one is a point. A point is a distinct point in space, right? One particular point. I'm imagining points put on a coordinate grid, right? If you can imagine Rene Descartes and that fly buzzing on the ceiling, right? A point is a distinct and specific position. All right, that second one is an angle, and it happens to be an acute angle. Hopefully you thought it was an acute angle in your head. Fabulous kids. The third one is a right triangle. And I know it's a right triangle because it has one right angle. The fourth one are a set of parallel lines. Never ever touch. They're going in the same direction. And they're lines because they have arrows, which means they go on and on forever in both directions. And so the last one are showing perpendicular lines. Perpendicular are intersecting, but they intersect in a very specific way. They intersect at a perfect 90-degree angle. And they're lines as well. Those arrows show that they go on and on forever. Number 2, circle the polygons. Polygons have no curves, no gaps, no intersections. You.
No curves, no gaps, no intersections.
So, polygon, polygon. The other ones have curves or gaps. Number 3, circle the polygons in the box below that have exactly one line of symmetry. So maybe a good way of thinking of it is the left looks like the right. So I know that this has a line of symmetry, and this has a line of symmetry. I think this first shape has 0 lines of symmetry. I know a perfect equilateral triangle is going to have 3 lines of symmetry, and this rhombus is going to have 2 lines of symmetry. So the only shapes that have 1 line of symmetry are the trapezoid and that irregular pentagon. Number 4, we have to finish the sentences. Letter A, an acute angle measures less than 90, and an obtuse angle measures more than 90. On to page 110. Number 5, draw an example of the angle described in each box. The first one is an acute angle, so go ahead and draw something that's less than 90. And it doesn't matter if your angle is facing to the right or facing to the left, as long as it's less than 90 degrees. Put an arc in there to show which part of the angle you want people to look at. The second one is a right angle. And instead of an arc, you should put a little square in there. That shows people that you intended for it to be exactly 90 degrees. Not 89, not 91, exactly 90. And finally, it says an angle that measures about 120. You could totally sketch it, right? I know what 90 is. I know what 180 is. So I bet 120 would be about there, right? A little bit more than 90. If you had a protractor, you could totally, ooh, that looks pretty good. You could totally measure it as well. But because it says about 120, I think that they would be okay with a sketch. Story problems. Number 6, an ant walked around a rectangular garden. One side of the garden was 16 feet, the other side was 23 feet. How far did the ant walk? And of course that's a perimeter question. Let's use green for the garden. And I'm going to label because pictures are always helpful. So 16 on one side, 23 on the other. And if the ant walked all the way around, that's the perimeter. And perimeter, of course, is the distance around a shape. Perimeter is the distance around a shape. So I'm going to add 23 plus 16 plus 23 plus 16. Or maybe you would add the two 23s together. And add the two 16s together. And then put those two numbers together. For our total. Say plain perimeter.
Plain perimeter.
So it's just plain feet because we're just adding the lengths besides the ant walked. Letter B is the area. Now this is a 2-digit number times a 2-digit number. We are going to be learning traditional multiplication next week. So So this will become much easier next week. If you know traditional, you can do traditional. If you don't, we'll have to do a break apart method. All right, 23 times 16. If you know traditional, it looks like this. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. 0. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. Add it all together, and you get 368. If you don't know traditional, do the break apart method. The break apart method, let's see. I think I'm going to break apart 23 into 20 and 3. I think we can still keep the 16 to 16. I think 16 is an easy enough number that we can break apart 16. So instead of 23 times 16, do 20 times 16 and 3 times 16. 2 times 16 is 32, add a 0. 3 times 16, I know that 3 times 15 is 45, plus 3 more is 48. You could also do 16 plus 16 plus 16 off to the side if you didn't know that 3 times 16 was 48. Get it all together. When I say area, you say square area. Area.
Square.
Area.
Square.
So not just regular feet, but square feet. And finally, the last one. Clover is mowing her backyard. Her backyard is a rectangle. One side is 60 feet long, the other side is 25 feet long. It took Clover 30 minutes to mow half of her backyard. That's the area. We don't need to know how long it took her. We don't need to know it took her 30 minutes. What we need to know is that she mowed half of her backyard, which means we want to know the area of half her backyard. Again, a picture is always very helpful. One side is 60, the other side is 25. To find the area of the whole thing, we would do 60 times 25. But we only need to know half of that. So there's really two ways of doing it. You could do 60 times 25. I know 6 times 25. I'm thinking of 6 quarters. Yeah, I don't know if you're thinking of 6 quarters as well. But 6 times 25 would be 150, right? 6 quarters would be $1.50. So 6 times 25 is 150. Add one more 0, and we're at 1,500. But that's not the answer. That's the area of the whole backyard. Then you could cut it in half, and half of it would be 750. Okay? Or you could think this. Half of 60 is 30. So she really just mowed this part, right? Half of it is 30 by 25. So instead of doing 60 by 25, you could instead do 30 times 25. So we're doing the exact same thing as what I did in blue, except now I don't have to cut it in half because I already cut it in half to begin with. 60 is a 30. Think 3 times 25. Think 3 quarters, right? 3 times 25 is 75. Add a 0. So either way, you get an answer of 750. So the area of the whole backyard is 1,500, but she mowed half the backyard, which is 750. When I say area, you say square area. Area.
Square.
Area.
Square.
And it's in feet, so we need to label it square feet. 750 square feet. Here are the answers for 109 and 110. All right, kids, I will see you in class.